She snored through my entire review. Yeah, you did. Hi, today I'd like to talk about the book Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This is a YA historical fiction set during the end of World War II in the year 1945. The setting is East Prussia, and the German-occupied territory is about to be overrun by the Soviet army. At the beginning of the book, there is a map that gives you the situation and locations of Germany, Poland, East Prussia, Lithuania, and to the north is the Baltic Sea. Now, as the Russians are invading, getting close to invasion, the German government is sort of delaying orders to evacuate the population, probably not willing to admit defeat, but it becomes to the point where the people are panicking and are starting to pack up their things and move towards the port on their own. They're hoping to get aboard some of the ships that are there in the port and evacuate overseas. Now, one of those ships is the Wilhelm Gustloff. This particular ship began its life as a passenger liner meant to hold about 1,850 people. But by 1945, in this operation, which would become known as Operation Hannibal, they gut out the ship, they remove all the extraneous furniture, they drain the pool in the hopes of being able to pack the ship with as many people as possible. That'll be German refugees, injured soldiers, and countless civilians. Before all is said and done, the civilian population pushing their way aboard ship, there'll be nearly 10,000 people on board this ship. Way more than it was ever meant to hold. On the night of January 30th, 1945, the ship is struck by 3 Soviet torpedoes launched by a U-boat S-13, and it takes less than 60 minutes for it to sink below the frigid waters of the Baltic Sea. I've heard conflicting numbers in terms of the amount of survivors. I've heard anywhere from 996 to some 1,200 people survived, but nearly 9,000 people lost their lives in the ship, almost half of those being children and infants, and it has been labeled as the worst maritime disaster in recorded history, and yet I never heard of it until I picked up this particular book. The death toll was like almost double that of the Lusitania and the Titanic combined, and yet little is ever heard about this particular ship. This particular book, as I said, is historical fiction. A majority of the book is told from the point of view of 4 teenagers, and we don't actually even reach the ship till probably this far into the book. So it's mostly about their journey before and during to get to this particular evacuation point. It's told, like I said, from the point of view of 4 individual teenagers, and each one will be labeled at the top of the page, and then it's only like about a page or two before it shifts perspectives again. Of the 4 teenagers, we have Joanna. She is a young woman of German and Lithuanian heritage who has a background in medicine. And during her route through East Prussia to the port, she sort of has a bit of a gathering of other people that she has collected along the way. There is an old shoemaker who's a poet. There's a wandering boy who's lost his family along the way. They have died, and he's on his own. There is a blind girl who, in the German government, would consider her inferior, and she would probably be just put to death right away. So she's like taking care of all these people en route. We also have a young Prussian soldier by the name of Florian. He is on the run, and he's trying to stay hidden from both the German and the Russians. And during his travels, he encounters a young Polish girl by the name of Amelia. She has probably suffered the most tragedy prior to even leaving, probably the summer before. But she suffers the most, I think, through this story. During one point when he encounters her, she's about to be attacked by some Russians, and he comes to her aid. And from that point on, she sort of latches onto him as her knight, and they travel together, although he is reluctantly bringing her along. And then our 4th narrator, probably the one I found the most troubling, is a young German sailor by the name of Alfred. He is stationed on the Wilhelm Gustloff. His narration is sort of almost as like a letter to his girlfriend Hannelore in his head, because he's not physically writing this down, but he's always talking about his bravery and how important he is aboard the ship, neither of which is true. He just sees himself as bigger than he really is, more proud and everything. A very dislikable character. But each one of these characters has some sort of secret. They are running from they were being hunted by, or a tragedy they've faced. And I found each of their stories so captivating. The whole mixture of the historical aspects of the book and their fictional lives, but the lives that are portrayed here of these characters are so true. I've gone on YouTube and watched some documentaries, which I included in a playlist on my channel if you want to check it out, about the Wilhelm Gustloff and about the situation during the invasion of the Russian army, and their wish for kind of revenge against the German army for events that took place there, and what they do to some of the people is just horrific. There are some mentions of rape, but nothing that goes into any like detailed depiction of it, but it is definitely, implied it definitely happened. So some people may find that triggering, just as a warning. But it was just so beautifully written too. I didn't find like when it jumped between narrations to be jarring in any way. The writing I found in some cases poetic. I like the way it kind of begins with talking about what each character is being hunted by, fear or shame or guilt, and it kind of brings that kind of back to the story towards the very end as well. You don't know the outcome of these characters. You do know the outcome of the ship. It is told right on the back of the book. That is obviously no spoiler. That is a fact in history. But I thought the author did a phenomenal job of bringing the lives of the people on board this ship, to the public. I mean, like I said, it's not a very well-known story. It seems like, or just hidden in the annals of history. I'm definitely going to want to pick up more books by this author. I found her writing very captivating. And I just highly recommend it. And also, once you read this, I think you're going to want to find a little bit more about the ship and events that took place on that night. So that is my review of Ruta Sepetys' Salt to the Sea. Like I said, I definitely recommend you pick it up. It is already available. This is an advanced copy, but it came out, I think, about a couple of weeks ago. February of this year. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.